Good day everyone. Today I will be answering 7 questions about curricular modification in basic education post-pandemic. So the first question is, why do you think the curriculum had to change after the pandemic? Do you agree with the changes? Why or why not? So my answer is, the COVID-19 pandemic drastically changed the way education was delivered and highlighted many challenges in the traditional curriculum. Schools closed face-to-face highlighted me face-to-face learning was suspended, and students and teachers had to adapt to new modes of learning almost overnight. This showed us that the old curriculum was not fully prepared for sudden disruptions or for reaching all types of learners under various circumstances. The need to prioritize the most essential learning competencies led to the implementation of a more focused, flexible curriculum that aimed to reduce academic pressure while ensuring quality education. I agree with these changes because they promote a learner-centered approach that is more adapted to different situations. The pandemic reminded us that education is not just about content but about how learning can continue despite challenges. The updated curriculum also emphasizes critical thinking, digital literacy, and socio-emotional learning, which are important in today's world. These changes better prepare students not just for exams but for life. So the second question is, what learning style worked best for you during the pandemic? Online, modular, blended? How will you use in your future classroom? My answer is, during the pandemic, blended learning worked best for me. Give me the flexibility to learn at my own pace through modules while still having access to online classes where I could interact with my teachers and classmates. This balance helped me stay engaged without feeling overwhelmed. I appreciated having different ways to learn, whether by watching a video, joining a Zoom class, or reading a printed module in my future classroom. I will try to incorporate the strengths of blended learning that all students learn the same way. So I will provide different learning options depending on their needs and resources. For example, I can create video lessons that students can rewatch at home or assign tasks that allow them to explore topics using both digital tools and printed resources. Blended learning encourages independence, responsibility, and creativity, all um, all of which I want to cultivate in my students. For question number 3 is, if you were teaching in a place with weak internet and few gadgets, how would you help your students learn using the new curriculum? So if I were teaching in a rural or under-resourced area with poor internet connectivity and limited access to devices, I would rely on low-tech and no-tech resolutions. One strategy would be to use printed self-learning modules aligned with the new curriculum. These modules would be distributed weekly or bi-weekly, and I would include clear instructions, examples, and simple engaging activities. I would also organize small group learning sessions in safe community areas following health protocols to guide students and answer their questions if possible. I'd collaborate with local radio stations or use portable speakers to play recorded lessons. Community involvement would be crucial, working with parents, barangay officials, and volunteers to help monitor and support the learning of children. These methods ensure that no student is left behind, even without gadgets or the internet. For question number 4, how can you take care of your students' mental health and emotions as a future teacher? Give at least one specific way. So students' mental health and emotional well-being are just as important as their academic growth, especially after the trauma and stress many experienced during the pandemic. As a future teacher, I will prioritize building a positive, supportive classroom environment where students feel safe, valued, and heard. One specific way I will do this is by implementing regular emotional check-in activity. This can be done at the start of the day or week, where students can share how they feel using simple tools like emoji cards, mood meters, or journals. For older students, I can use open-ended questions or reflection prompts. This practice encourages students to express their emotions and helps me identify who may need more support. I will also integrate mindfulness activities, peer support groups, and open communication to create a culture of empathy and care. For the fifth question, what are the good and bad sides of using digital tools like Zoom or Google Classroom? How can you make sure all your students can access them? So digital tools like Zoom and Google Classrooms offer many advantages. They allow for real-time communication, easy sharing of resources, and flexible learning. Teachers can use videos, interactive quizzes, and online forums to make learning engaging, dynamic, dynamic also. These platforms also support personalized learning because students can access materials at their own pace and review lessons when needed. However, the downside is not all students have access to reliable internet, smartphones, or laptops. This digital divide can create inequality in education. To address this, I would ensure that digital content is also available offline, such as printable worksheets, PDF versions of lessons, or USB flash drives with pre-recorded lessons. I would also advocate for school and community efforts to provide shared gadgets, set up learning hubs with free Wi-Fi, or distribute printed materials regularly. Inclusivity means thinking about every student's situation and finding ways to adapt. For the sixth question, why is it important for teachers to understand laws like R 18533 or DepEd's BELCP? How do they support curriculum changes? Understanding laws like policies like Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013 or R 18533 and the Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan is essential for every teacher. R 18533 is the foundation of the K-12 program in the Philippines. It promotes a learner-centered, inclusive, and developmentally appropriate curriculum that integrates 21st century skills. On the other hand, the BELCP was developed in response to the pandemic to ensure that education continues despite disruptions. These policies guide curriculum development and teaching strategies. When teachers understand these laws, they can better align their lessons with national standards and ensure that their teaching practices are both legal and effective. These frameworks also support innovations in learning, such as the use of blended learning and alternative delivery modes. Teachers become more empowered and confident when they are well informed about the legal policy context of education. For the last question, how will you teach both academic lessons and life skills like problem solving and communication at the same time in your class? Academic learning and life skills should go hand in hand. In my classroom, I will design lessons that not only teach subject content but also encourage students to think critically, solve problems, and communicate effectively. For example, in a science class, I can ask students to work in groups to investigate a local environmental issue and present their findings. This teaches them scientific um, knowledge while also building teamwork, research, and public speaking skills. I will also integrate real-life scenarios into lessons. In math, I can use budgeting or business simulations. In language classes, students can write letters, conduct interview, or perform role plays. By using project-based learning, collaborative activities, and reflective exercises, I can ensure that students develop the academic and life skills they need to succeed both inside and outside the classroom. And that's all. Thank you for listening.